This is Scoreboard with Chris Titley. Powered by Swiftex. Where can crypto take you?
Hi, it's Chris Titley here. On today's episode of Scoreboard, the podcast, we are joined by Corey Rocchiccioli. Corey, thanks so much for being part of this series.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Sitting here on Thursday, the 16th of July. It's 10:32 here in Brisbane, but 8:32 where you are in Perth. If you were to describe 2026 thus far, how would you describe it, Corey?
Oh, challenging, fun, and worthwhile would probably be my that'd probably be how I summate it.
Excellent. And going through those challenging, what was it? Challenging, worthwhile, and
And fun. Worthwhile and fun probably come together, but obviously success on the field. There's been some good highs. Some great final win, which was awesome. I got married. Did a house reno. I didn't do any of the house reno myself, but I paid a lot of people to do that. So being in a new house has been fun. And then challenging, just the ebbs and flows of cricket. Selections and playing and not performing and playing and performing. So all of that combined.
what do you reckon is more challenging, sort of bowling on a fourth day in a Shield game that's close, or a house renovation?
Trying to do a house renovation and plan a wedding at the same time. My wife planned all of the wedding, basically, so I'm not going to take any credit for that. But just having those two admin tasks basically coincide with each other were quite challenging. So I'm going to go with those two over day 4.
Those two over day 4. And then when it comes to cricket, Corey, you're a cricket lover. Cricket's your life. How consuming is cricket? Did you actually take a back step from cricket during those periods of planning a wedding and renovations, etc.?
Certainly not during the planning stages. Definitely was able to take a back seat whilst I was getting married. That couple of weeks of the honeymoon and the wedding, there wasn't a lot of cricket being spoken about. But the rest of the time, I'm consumed fairly regularly by it, whether it's the home summer and everything to go with that, or it's checking the county scores every time I wake up in the morning, checking in on how the Aussies have fared over there, and checking in with a few people I know who play county cricket now. So it's all consuming.
And so, Corey, what does the life of a professional cricketer do in the off season, apart from like checking scores, getting married, and doing a renovation?
Off season for me, pretty important couple of months for me. So just like April and May, just about I pretty much train as hard as I probably would throughout the season, but it's more of a physical and mental focus more than necessarily skills. So I'm on the bike a couple of times a week, 3 runs a week or 2 runs a week, few gym sessions, and just getting the body moving and ticking over. I was a pretty big last 18 months. I think I played 25 first class games and all the travel and all that. So it sort of took its toll, and I just spent the last couple of months getting my body back up to speed, and just working through all the ailments to sort of come with consistent first class exposure and bowling lots. And it's been a worthwhile pre-season. In between that, there's a fair bit of coffee consumed, and all that.
Excellent, mate. Well, it's 8:30 in the morning. You probably should be on your second or third, probably like I am, in terms of coffee. It's 10:30 here. I'm still on my on my coffee, mate. You talked about mental game. Let's go there. What skills do you do in the off season or even during the season to improve your mental capacity and your mental skills?
Oh, I think a lot for me. It's grown and evolved since I was 20. It's been a long process, but I think in the off season, mainly around like reviewing like what's happened, previewing what the preseason is going to look like, and then just understanding when the stress points are going to come in, or when there's potential games coming up. So a little bit trickier this preseason. There was a lot of preparing to play just in case county cricket popped up. It didn't, but it was sort of just around visualisation, just sort of going back to just some processes that I'm trying to implement. And I think that the one missing link that sometimes people forget is probably like it comes into training as well. So there's certain training sessions that I'm flagging where I'm working on the mental side of the game and my processes, and I'm reviewing that. As well as just training, block training my skills, whether it's on the bowling machine repetition technical work. So there's a fair bit that goes on there throughout the preseason, and then during the season, constantly previewing, reviewing games. I've got a rating system, and then just being able to sort of like visualize going into games and sort of making sure that I'm in the greatest mental clarity going into games that I can be. Because I'm not always going to be physically ready, but I'm certainly more often than not mentally ready to go.
Had a couple of AFL players on, Dale Morris and Simon Black, who talked strongly about visualization going into a footy game, about preparation, about the ground, getting there early and thinking through their brain around visualization. Cricket, on the other hand, for you potentially is a 4-day game, and there's long spells of innings and there's long spells of bowling, etc. How do you visualize a cricket game?
I think mainly when I first started, it was about like my getting into my spell. So getting into the first couple of overs as a spinner, like they're quite important overs. So it was just about visualizing those. As it's gotten on, it's specific scenarios. So whether that's certain batting scenarios, night watchman scenarios, or whether that's bowling scenarios around just overcoming being hit for six a few times, understanding the mental processes or where your body's state will be in there, and just practicing getting yourself out of it. And then certain scenarios around when you're over aroused and you're way too excited, just being able to sort of bring yourself back down from that. So it's fairly scenario specific. I still do the visualization on the morning of the first day and throughout the week, throughout the 4 days, where it's literally just like, what's my best over look like? How does the ball come out? How does it feel? And you certainly get that sensation around familiarization and the feeling that you've already bowled that over, so the nerves sort of don't hit in and you can sort of hit your straps running. So there's certainly good aspects involved in everything.
And then in terms of like the 30 to 45 minutes before you're on, is there a superstition slash routine? Is there something that gets you into the flow state, as they call it?
Um, Not necessarily. Like, I probably want to do less as close to the game as possible if it's a day's play. Like, I'm sort of like get there probably 2 hours early, go straight out, have a bowl, do my warm up in the gym, then go out and have a bowl, and then don't do much leading into it. So, like, when we do our team warm up, which is usually 45 minutes before, I'm actually probably doing as least movement as possible and sort of just chilling out. When I'm on the field, I usually stand in a catching position, so there's not a lot of time to think about too much around my own bowling, bar just like assessing the conditions and sort of running through the plans I might have for if this batter's set by the time I come on, what fields could I have, and just talking to the bowlers and the keeper and the slips out there around what's happening and what are they seeing. But generally, once I'm out there, I'm certainly far more relaxed than maybe 2 hours before.
And mate, I've heard you on another podcast talk about the blue brain and red brain, which is a familiar thing for me because I follow Gilbert and Knocker and the All Blacks, and I've fortunate enough to have heard Gilbert speak a number of times and talks very strongly of this. Do you want to describe to the listeners your version of it and how what you're thinking when it comes to managing both sides of the brain?
Yeah, I think like my blue brain, red brain, yeah, obviously stole that off him. I think I might have heard Dan Carter or read something back in the day, and that certainly helped me understand this. But essentially, blue brain's your clear brain. So like your subconscious, your best state, I suppose. Like what is your best state physically, mentally? How does that look? How does that touch? How does that feel? And then your red state is the complete opposite. But like when you're in your most suboptimal state, your most stressed state, how does that look? How does that feel? And in essence, I've just done a heap of work around understanding those states, and then that's where I use my visualization. So how am I putting myself into blue brain? How am I putting myself into red brain? Or how am I like in training? How am I putting myself into red brain and coming out of it? How am I using the levers when I'm in red brain to get myself out of that as well? So whether that's using fine leg, whether that's using some breathing processes, whether that's trying to zoom out, get greater understanding. I've got a pretty good concept now of like when I'm in both. and trying to go with it when you're in blue brain, but I certainly feel like you're always oscillating. When you're on the edge of great performance, you're oscillating between red and blue more than you're necessarily sitting in blue the whole time because of the challenge state that you're in when you're playing first class cricket. That sort of, yeah, you're sort of always fluttering on the edge of going over the top because you need to keep yourself aroused to be able to perform. So that's essentially what it means like for me. And then it's just the game plans of how do I pull myself out of it, or how do I get myself into a blue brain state when the game. Not every day you're able to get yourself out of red brain, so it's just like the ability to review that, come back to it, practice it, understand why you were in there, and then you're just adding reps and understanding of when you're in this moment, this is why you were stressed out, or this is why you didn't have your best self. It might have been routine, it might have been conditions, might have been skill set, a whole heap of everything that you could be just completely cooked and you're in red brain, you can't get out of it. There's no hard and fast rule about why you sit in it, but it's just like that reviewing. And then the same with the blue brain. If you're in it for long periods of time, how can you why did you stay in it, and what did you do to keep yourself in it? So there's been a lot of that consistent review process and being able to solidify and learn and grow.
Do you use the techie data now for sleep and steps and calories and all that sort of stuff, or is it a bit overkill?
No, I do. I wear a Whoop. I'm a data guy, so like I love data. It's pretty much how I've operated most of my teenage years and beyond. And so like I love my Whoop. I think I've been on it for almost 2,000 days now. So don't know what that is in years, but I pretty much had it since I've been contracted. And I've loved every minute of it. Just to be able to, for me, it's just a way to assess how I'm actually feeling versus the hard and fast data. I'm a bit of an overtrainer, so like I love training, so I use it as a response to be like, I've actually trained heaps this month or this week. You haven't taken a day off. I need to take a day off. And just learning how to actually rest and recover hasn't been my biggest forte. So that's something that's just certainly taught me. And particularly just around like how your body travels. Like traveling is pretty hard on the body, so just like learning little travel hacks and um, all like there is elements where you have to ignore it. Like I don't, if I'm in the red on game day, day three, doesn't matter. You're performing, like you just do it. But like it's certainly for a preseason point of view, it's really good to understand that data, when to pull, when to push. But in season, it's a bit like if you can do your best to try and get in the green, and if you don't, just play on and learn how to adapt. I think is something that like you got to learn with having all the data.
Mate, absolutely. And we've been adapting really well in this podcast with a few intermission cutting outs of the broadband, etc. But we're back online, which is great. I am going to touch on process versus outcome at the moment as well, because it's something that's come up a lot with the athletes and the comfortableness around process, but then not actually getting the outcome and how you battle through that. And I imagine it's an ongoing battle, but your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I certainly think like it's very cliche, but it's very important. Like the process of how you do something every day consistently can lead to an outcome, but it always doesn't necessarily lead to that outcome when you want the outcome. You've got to keep going to the well every day. You've got to go every year, and then the outcome you want necessarily doesn't come all that time. Or sometimes the outcome comes when your processes for that day are horrific. But it's the ability to stack really good days consistently over time allows you to have consistent outcomes over time. You can get lucky, you can have bad processes and have good outcomes, but I think it's consistent processes over time allow you to have quite a successful and long periods of sustained success. But it's certainly something that's taken me a while, and it's always you're ever consistently grappling with it, to be honest, because we live in a results based industry, yet we're told to live via a process. So you've got to grapple with it, and you've got to understand you are a slave to your numbers, but you've also got to understand to get those consistent numbers right and be consistent and play where you want to play. You've got to be doing the right stuff consistently and going to the well.
And then cricket is a team sport too. So you've got 11 or 12 members of your team doing their jobs or being part of their roles in the team. And sometimes you don't get a bat, or sometimes you don't get a bowl and you're all ready to go. How do you feel about that sometimes?
Yeah, I feel sorry for my captains because usually if I'm not bowling, they've got to deal with me telling them that I want to bowl. But I've been quite fortunate in the teams that I've sort of played in. Bowling, I usually get a fair bit of a bowl all the time, which is quite nice. That's the good role of being a spinner. I think you don't have those loads and you can keep trucking in all day. Um, and then batting wise, yeah, like I would love the top order. I'd love to see my mates score double hundreds and hundreds. That makes me happy. So yeah, the batting side of things. Some days you cooked and you're like, I really don't need a bat today. I need to put my feet up and have a rest. But yeah, I certainly. I don't probably grapple with that too much. I think when you go to the well with your mates so much, and you love your mates, you want to see them do well too. And you understand that for you to play with your best mates for 10 years, they've got to perform as well. So you want to enjoy the ups and downs with them as well, and hopefully see them well because you deeply care about their careers as much as your own.
And looking back in regards to your youth, was there a dream to play first class cricket or to play for Western Australia? And I know there was probably some selection, the junior teams mightn't have gone your way, etc. What was that sort of inner belief there, and the why?
Yeah, I certainly tried to be an AFL footballer first. That didn't work. I was not very good at that. Well, I thought I was good, but I wasn't very good. And then cricket was just sort of something that was it was just an everlasting like back. It was in the background all the time. Like it was footy in the winter, cricket in the summer, but it was like cricket sort of just kept ticking along, and I kept wanting to be good at it. And I loved that when I played juniors, I was sort of like an all rounder, so I was able to bat and bowl, and I captained a bit, and sort of loved that side of it. I loved watching first grade cricket. I'd go and watch first grade cricket all the time. I'd finish my under 17s and go watch first grade cricket. And I think, to be honest, like a lot of my dreams early doors were just being able to play first grade cricket. And then you start to look out and you're like, okay, there's actually first class cricket. And it's obviously Australian cricket as well. So then it starts to become more of I want to be a professional cricketer, and you want to play for Australia, and then you want to play for WA, and then you achieve your first grade. You're like, I'm a first grade player now, and then you can start to tick off the other boxes. I certainly didn't have anything really go my way early doors, but I also don't know whether I was good enough to have that go early doors. To be honest, like I wasn't amazing in everything. I wanted to play in all the rep stuff, but I just wasn't a very good junior. And that probably comes down to like where I was focusing my time. I was broadly gifted in terms of like being able to play every sport and enjoy every sport. And I think that's what I did. And then I sort of got hyper fixated on it from 18 onwards. And then, yeah, through a couple of change of club and whatnot, got the right coaching at the right time, which matched my eagerness and curiosity and work ethic. And I think that then allowed me to sort of spur on to play professional cricket. I certainly feel like I probably had a very naive optimism, I'd probably say. I probably didn't realize the harshness and the reality of playing professional cricket is actually pretty hard to get there. And then it's pretty hard to stay there. So I think every time I've sort of internally just thought it was the easiest thing. I was like, oh, I'll tick this box off and I'll go to the next box. And then when I tick that box off, I'll get where I want to go, and always believed I could do it. But when you're 18 and you're playing fourth grade, I don't think many other people around you think that's going to happen. So there's certainly a bit of naive optimism. I think there still is, to be honest. But I think that's what was one of my superpowers. So I've certainly leaned into it now. But I think I didn't know what I was thinking in terms of that when I was a little bit younger.
Do you ever feel comfortable in a team playing cricket, or are you sort of a little bit on edge around maybe there's a time where you don't get selected or whatnot? Do you ever like feel like no, we're good here?
I think in professional cricket, when you're playing in certain teams that you're either aspiring to be or you've just got into, there's always that element of like you never really feel settled until you start performing. I think you believe that you're good enough to be there, but you're certainly like, oh, I've got to showcase that I'm good enough to stay here. Because I think once you're in there, once you're in whatever team you're in, it becomes addictive to wanting to stay there. And I think then when you don't when you're not consistently at the mark in a certain format or a certain team, sort of you drop down and then keep thinking about how you're going to be better because the addiction to playing in that level or in that format is there. So I certainly feel comfortable when I'm there. Like that's no issue. Like I'm a people person, but it's more just like you're on edge to know that you're in a results based industry, so you have to perform to the level. Otherwise, you're out the door pretty quickly.
If you compare yourself to a bottle of red wine, and at 18 you were just being bought or just being made, and now 10 years later you're aging well, and there's plenty more in the tank. How do you feel around your cricket journey so far in terms of escalation of performance and skill and mindset?
Yeah, yeah. Bottle of wine's probably a good analogy. I probably never thought about it like that. Yeah, I was probably goon, and now I'm probably moving into that $30 bottle. Started off at the $5, and I'm moving forward. Who knows what price I'll get to in the long term? But yeah, certainly a lot as well. That ball rolling downhill analogy where it's just gathering and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I feel like that sort of or the other analogy is pumping the well. Like I've done a lot of pumping to get the well to start, and now it's starting to flow with some water. So yeah, I feel like I'm just at the beginning. I feel like I'm not really scratched the surface of like who I could be as a cricketer. So it's certainly exciting knowing that you've got plenty of good years ahead, but you've also got plenty of learnings and plenty of understanding that you got plenty left in the tank to get better at.
Another analogy that I've got is, have you ever done those crab walks where you put the band around your ankles?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
And then you go from side to side and you don't feel any glute burn, and then about the fifth or sixth rep you just get this burn rate. So the first you're just doing nothing and not getting noticed, and no one's going, mate, the process, you're not going anywhere, and then all of a sudden you go, whoop, and you go, I can feel both my glutes and I don't want to walk on them anymore. It's another
Yeah,
one for the kit bag.
that's another good analogy, that.
And mate, the changing form of cricket, right? We've got franchise cricket around the world and professional cricketers, and had a little session the other day with Josh Brown, who does the circuit. That's his life. That's his job. What's your thoughts around skill and adaptation, I suppose, from your point of view around the levels of where cricket's heading and what it's doing?
Yeah, I certainly feel like it's turning more and more into a hyper specialization, like in terms of its own formats. It's almost like, I think I saw a quote the other day, you're almost in two different sports now. Like T20 cricket, the hyper skill level you need for that. And then the skill level you need for red ball cricket, they're not always correlating anymore. There's obviously some bright lights of the franchise world, and I respect those people who can do it. I actually really respect the people who can do both. It's quite amazing to me, the ability to oscillate between the formats. I would love to play three formats of cricket. Like I want to play three formats of cricket, but I certainly understand in the world, in the scheme of it, where my skill set currently sits, doesn't necessarily allow for that to happen all the time. So I think for me, I think that I've sort of matured on it, always wanting to do everything, to sort of understanding of where your bread's buttered, and then where you can almost add the sprinkles. Like I want to play Big Bash cricket, haven't played a lot of Big Bash cricket, but whether that's my number one priority right now, how do you add little strings to your bow and little slithers to be able to play that, and take a chance when it comes. But then also being able to sort of understand that where you are good at is red ball cricket, and Brownie's the other way around. Um, he put me into the third tier of Marvel Stadium, so he's pretty good at hitting sixes. Um, but yeah, it's the whole the ecosystem of cricket's, yeah, completely different to what it obviously was 15 years ago, and I feel like it's got a fair bit more to go. I feel like it's gonna, well, I don't know, like as a from an outsider, like talking to these guys who play a lot of these franchise world stuff, and being a first class cricketer, I certainly feel like they're almost merging into two different sports, and just going to be the good players who are going to be able to go through the two, or the hyper specialized, like your express quicks, or your really good batters are the two that are going to be able to go between both. But your right arm off spinners might not be able to dance with both.
Mate, we were chatting prior to the podcast, and the Sheffield Shield draw is out now, and the importance of the Sheffield Shield, and the fight, the battle, the fierce rivalries, etc. Now that the draw's out, who are you excited to play? Who are you excited to bowl against? And who would be your prized wicket this year?
My prize wicket. is a bit of a left field one. Teague Wiley's just gone to Tasmania. And if I get him out, the poor fella's not going to hear the end of it for a very long time. So vice versa, though, if he gets on top of me, I'm not going to hear the end of it for a long time. So there's him. In terms of playing, I just love the fact that our draw is exclusively first class venues. Sorry, test venues, not first class venues. They're all first class venues, but test venues. I think that's a very special draw to have, to be able to play 4 games at the WACA, 1 at Optus, which is going to be really, really cool to play in. The facilities at Optus are awesome. I've obviously been around them for Big Bash, but to be able to play at Optus Stadium is going to be bloody cool. Then to play, obviously, we play 4 games at the WACA every year with our new redevelopment. It's going to be quite funny to watch people in the pool swimming laps whilst we're out there slogging it away. And I'm looking forward to swimming a few laps whilst our opening batters are batting and I'm a few
Getting
wickets away.
200s.
So yeah, exactly right. In terms of, and we get to play at the MCG again. I think last year was the first time WA had played at the MCG for 15 years. And we had one player, I think it was, or a couple of players who'd played some A games and some first class cricket there, but not many for WA. And so now I'll be able to play there 2 years in a row. That's really cool. Playing the Vics at the MCG, they have a different type of strut when they play at the MCG. So that's really cool to be able to dance with those boys there. And then like just there's all different types of cool stuff. Like Adelaide Oval's really cool. We got a pink ball game at the Gabba this year. So all of it, to be honest, is going to be a really cool challenge and really really good. It's always good fun when the test boys are back, when they're playing either with us or against us. Like that's where you know where you're really at when you're playing Queensland. Every time you had to play against Marnus and Usman, I just like knew where I sat in how I was bowling when I was bowling to those two. So obviously Usman's retired. I'll miss bowling to him because he was always he's one of the best players to spin off bowled to. So yeah, there's everyone in every team. I think that's the joy of first class cricket is with the ins and outs that you can have every week. You can play against some really special players, some up and comers, and whatnot. So yeah, I think it's going to be a very it's an awesome year.
What do you learn when you're bowling to Usman and Marnus as an example, and looking back at when you're bowling to them? What are you thinking when you're bowling to them and they're playing you reasonably well?
I think you're just trying to solve the puzzle, really. But the thing that the test batters have that maybe we don't all have is the sound off their bats is amazing. Their timing, their fluency, their foot strokes, their ability to solve problems is higher than yours sometimes. So you just got your job's to find the ability to rise to their level and figure out and understand the puzzle that they're playing and play the game with them and figure out how to get it done. So there's been days with Marnus and Uzi where I haven't been able to do it and days where I have. And like you always walk away from them going, geez, like he did this, why did he do that? Like trying to find some information. Whether you can talk to him after, sometimes you're able to talk to him and I say, hey, what'd you think? What were you trying to do? And you're just trying to gather slithers of information that help you the next time you're bowling to a batter who might be implementing similar plans to you. So, yeah, you just get those types of information, which it makes it awesome.
Is there a story that you can share about when you were really in a battle with someone and you're like trying to work it out, and then obviously you don't want to spill your secret sauce, mate, but you mightn't reveal the batter, but like the feeling of like, yeah, well, I've worked it out and I've got him out.
Um, I think sometimes when you're working to a plan, so whether you're trying to set them up by nicking them off or getting them caught at bat pad and it actually works, I think that is pretty cool. Like actually working to plans and not just bowling and hoping they get out. There was a couple of times last year where we got the second round, so we played a team after we played them the first game of the year. A certain batter had set up a little differently to me, so I changed a couple of fields that I wouldn't normally start with and it got me a wicket pretty early. So I was pretty chuffed with that. But like you're just trying to learn and grow and stay ahead of the game essentially as quickly as you can. Because with the amount of footage and the amount of intel that's out there, it's quite easy for you to sort of lose your way a little bit when the other batters sort of figure out game plans and can set up to you after playing first class cricket for a bit of a time now.
Mate, that's brilliant. And I can't wait for this season, the summer of cricket again in 26-27. The draws are out now in mid-July and people are talking about it. It's fabulous to see and can't wait for the season ahead. Now, we do have a couple of sponsors of Scoreboard and we're very supportive because they continue to support us in telling stories of the game of sport. And the first one is SwiftX. And SwiftX is Australia's most trusted cryptocurrency platform with over 1.5 million users in Australia and New Zealand. And as part of their partnership with Scoreboard, and I thank SwiftX, we've signed for another 12 months, so we're going to get another SwiftX. But as part of their partnership with Scoreboard, we run a little series called the Bucket List, and it's the sporting event that you haven't attended, Corey, thus far that you would love to attend as part of their new campaign of Where Can Crypto Take You? I'm interested, Corey. Where would you like to go and watch live sport?
It's topical, but I want to be I want to watch the Tour de France. I love cycling. I froth it. I love the tactics. I love like the access. I love the nutrition. I love the data. So, and there's not many sports in the world where you can actually go and do the race. So, like the Tour de France, you can ride the morning of and put yourself up a mountain and watch them come through. So, the Tour de France is for me the number one bucket list.
The number one bucket. We've had it a couple of times. One as a spectator, one as a competitor. I reckon I'd do it as the food, wine, and cycling tour. I reckon that'd be my goer as well. In terms of, the sample of all three through the day. We've also got another partner in PocketSmith, and PocketSmith is the personal finance app for the household CFO, the one keeping the budget in check, paying the bills, and kicking goals. Over 100,000 Aussies use PocketSmith to track their spending, see their net worth, and plan ahead. And with all the money in sport and the adult things in life to do with money, Corey, I'm curious, are you a budgeter? Are you the CFO of your household?
Well, it's funny because I use SwiftX and I also use PocketSmith. So there's an endorsement for both your sponsors. So there's,
Can you say that again
I
very
use
loudly and again 3 or 4 times?
Yeah, so I use both of them. I use PocketSmith. I'm the budgeter. I'm the guy who I like I said, data's my thing. So PocketSmith's helped my data side. I've quite enjoyed it.
Excellent. Thank you. And kudos and shout out to PocketSmith. There you go. We're getting our money's worth today in the podcast. Now, 2 final questions. Actually got 3 final questions. The first one is your all-time favorite sporting moment, and I preface this that it doesn't include yourself, and that something you can watch on YouTube a few thousand times.
Oh, doesn't it? It's funny. I probably search myself up on YouTube a bit too often. That can go on YouTube. There's actually a few moments that sort of come to mind straight away. I'm the first one, and the one that I'll go to is Gilly in Perth against England. That 100. That's the first one that came to mind. The second one was Amazing Adelaide. So either one of those two, they're the two.
So Amazing Adelaide hasn't popped up in the 175 podcasts, and I was waiting for this moment because it does get brought out every now and then, and it was just the day 5 and the Warn. It's just unbelievable. I mean, I think I bought the DVD back then, to be honest. Not that you can buy DVDs anymore. Maybe for them to bring it out and roll it out.
It was just so good, and I think for me, Gilly and Huss are my 2 biggest idols. So I certainly get nervous whenever I speak to those 2 at functions. So they're the 2 that I still idolize. I think I've read Mike Hussey's book about 60 times. So that was that's where I sort of got all my work ethic from as a youngster, and he was at my junior club. So that's probably why I lean to those 2 the most.
You want to shout out to that junior club so we can give him a big tag on Instagram?
Just Wanneroo Districts. That's the club that I sort of started a fair bit of my formal career at. So yeah, that they were there, and there was just fable stories of the Hussies, his dad, and himself. So the amount of work they did in pre-seasons with Wanneroo. So those stories reverberated around as a junior. So you sort of latched onto them, and hence why Huss is an idol.
Now, I've asked this question only other 2 times in the podcast before, so you're going to be the third lucky charm third. The first one was to Michael Kasprowicz. The second one was to Brandon Starcevich. And the third one is going to be for you, Corey Rocchiccioli, is can you spell your last name backwards?
Oh, my God. No, I can't. I'm not even going to bother. ROCCHILOCCIHCCOR. Is that anywhere near it? Have I missed a few letters there?
You missed the you went LLOC. It was actually LLOICCIHCCOR.
It's hard enough to spell forwards, let alone backwards. So I'm not going to be doing that ever again. But that's a good one. That might be a little.
I reckon.
If I ever run a trivia night, that's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to get someone to do it forwards and someone backwards.
And Brandon Starcevich was out in the West too. So 2 out in the West. And Casper, obviously local here in Brizzy. Now, one final question. We have talked about the changing game of cricket. We have talked a lot about mindset, having fun, and advice to a 15-year-old right now who looks on the telly and says, I want to be a professional cricketer, or likewise, I want to be a professional athlete. Some advice.
Yeah. Oh, I might go three bullet points. Don't believe what you see on Instagram. The second bullet point is if you're trying to be hot, like really good at your sport, whatever hours of the week that everyone else trains, you need to do extra than that. So if everyone trains for 3 hours on a Tuesday, Thursday, you need to find time to do more. And then the third one is invest as much time into your brain as humanly possible. Understand how it works. Understand what happens when you get into flight or flight situations. Meditate. Yeah, they're probably my three. My three for a 15-year-old right now would be they would be the three.
Mate, that's excellent. Thank you for that, and particularly about the brain side of things, which is something which I've encountered probably the last couple of years, being in my mid-40s, more so than often, and learning from people like yourself, high performers who are finding the right groove in terms of their routine and their practices and trusting the process. Corey Rocchiccioli, thank you so much for being on Scoreboard, the podcast today, albeit with a few technical difficulties. We got there in the end. I really appreciate it, and good luck this year, and all the best, and looking forward to supporting where I can.
Thanks, Chris. Cheers.
This has been another episode of Scoreboard with Chris Titley. Go back and check out some of the other episodes you might have missed.